You think you're watching this video to learn something new. But what if I told you the deepest truth I ever discovered was that you already know it? Every equation I ever wrote, every breakthrough that changed physics forever, none of it came from accumulating more knowledge. It came from unlearning, from forgetting what I was taught to believe was impossible. Right now, as you sit here, you're carrying around certainties that are caging you. And the most dangerous ones, they don't even feel like beliefs. They feel like reality itself. Listen, I need to tell you something directly, and I need you to really hear me. You've been living as though understanding reality is about collecting more facts, more certainty, more control. But this obsession with certainty, this need to know exactly what's going to happen next, it's precisely what's keeping you anxious, stuck, and disconnected from the profound intelligence that's already flowing through you. What I saw in the quantum realm wasn't just about particles and waves. It was a mirror showing me that reality operates on probability, on relationship, on paradox, not chaos, not randomness, but a deeper order that only reveals itself when you stop demanding it behave the way your fear wants it to. By the time we're done here, you'll understand why your need for certainty is killing your creativity, why your separation from the world is an illusion that's exhausting you, and how to live in harmony with uncertainty without fear, using the same principles that govern stars, atoms, and light itself. And here's the myth. We're going to shatter together the idea that intelligence means having answers. Real intelligence is knowing which questions to stay inside of. I'm going to take you inside the most important room I ever sat in. And it wasn't a laboratory. It wasn't some prestigious university hall with vaulted ceilings and the smell of old books. It was a third-class patent office in Bern, Switzerland, where I spent 8 hours a day reviewing technical drawings for devices I didn't care about, synchronizing clocks, regulating electrical currents, mind-numbing, bureaucratic work that had nothing to do with understanding the universe. My professors had rejected me. I'd graduated from the Polytechnic, sure, but barely. I asked too many questions. I challenged their assumptions. I didn't show up to all the lectures because I was too busy reading Maxwell and Boltzmann on my own, and they punished me for it. When it came time for academic positions, I was passed over, again and again. The door slammed shut. The academic world had no place for someone who asked too many uncomfortable questions, who couldn't just accept things the way they'd always been taught. So there I was, 26 years old, filing papers, stamping documents, feeling like a complete failure. My father thought I'd wasted my education. My friends from school were getting professorships, publishing papers, climbing the ladder I'd been kicked off of. And me? I was stuck in this little office, surrounded by the mundane mechanics of other people's inventions. But here's the strange gift of that humiliation, and I want you to really feel this because it's important. I had nothing left to protect, no reputation to maintain, no career to risk, no colleagues watching over my shoulder, ready to mock me if I said something foolish. So, during my lunch breaks, sitting in that cramped office or walking along the river, I started playing with ideas that would have gotten me laughed out of any university. I imagined riding light beams. I pictured what time would look like if you could move fast enough. I asked myself, what if everything we've been taught about space and time is just, well, wrong? And because I had no status, no authority, no one watching, I was free. I was free to be wrong. I was free to look foolish. I was free to follow my curiosity into territories that seemed absurd. You see, when you have everything to lose, you play it safe. You color inside the lines. You repeat what's been said before because deviation is dangerous. But when you've already lost, when you're already at the bottom, there's this strange liberation. The fear of falling disappears because you're already on the ground. I spent those years, from 1902 to 1905, living a double life. On the surface, I was Albert Einstein, third-class patent examiner, nobody special. But inside, in the privacy of my own mind, I was ripping apart 300 years of Newtonian physics and rebuilding it from scratch. And in 1905, everything erupted. I published 4 papers that year, 4 papers that changed everything we thought we knew about light, about atoms, about space, about time, about energy and matter. People called it my miracle year. But it wasn't a miracle. It was what happens when you stop protecting yourself and start following the questions that won't leave you alone. Now, you might be wondering, what does a failed academic in a patent office have to do with your life right now? Everything. Because the cage you're in isn't made of circumstances. It's not made of your job or your bank account or your relationship status or where you live. The cage is made of the need to look credible, the need to have it all figured out, the need to appear certain even when you're drowning in doubt. And that need, that performance, it's killing the very thing that could set you free. Your willingness to not know, your willingness to ask the stupid question, your willingness to imagine something that everyone else says is impossible. Let me tell you about another moment, a different kind of story, and I want you to picture this with me. Imagine yourself standing in an elevator, completely sealed. No windows. No way to see outside. Just you, standing in this metal box. Now, I want you to imagine two different scenarios, and I need you to really feel the difference, or the lack of difference. In the first scenario, the elevator is sitting perfectly still on the surface of the earth, motionless. You're standing there, and you feel the floor beneath your feet. You feel weight. You feel pulled downward. That's gravity, right? That's the earth pulling on your body, keeping you grounded. Now, second scenario. That same elevator is floating in deep space. No planets nearby, no stars close enough to matter. Just infinite darkness in every direction, no gravity at all. But here's the thing. The elevator is accelerating upward at exactly 9.8 meters per second squared. That's the same rate that gravity accelerates you toward the Earth. So you're in this elevator, and it's pushing up against your feet at exactly the same rate that gravity would pull you down. You feel the floor beneath your feet. You feel weight. You feel pushed downward into the floor. Here's the question that broke physics, and I mean literally shattered the foundations of everything Newton had built. Can you tell the difference? Can you perform any experiment, any measurement, anything at all inside that sealed elevator to know which scenario you're in? Are you sitting still in Earth's gravity, or are you accelerating through empty space? Think about it. Drop a ball, it falls at the same rate. Jump up, you come back down the same way. Your body feels the same sensations. Everything behaves identically. The answer is no. There is no difference. There is no experiment you can perform to distinguish between the two. Gravity and acceleration are the same phenomenon. They are not similar. They are not analogous. They are identical in their effects. And when I realized this, when I truly understood what this meant, it was like the floor dropped out from under me, except the floor was my entire understanding of reality. Because if gravity and acceleration are the same, then gravity isn't a force pulling you toward the Earth. It's not some invisible hand reaching out from the planet and tugging on your body. That's not what's happening at all. Gravity is the curvature of space-time itself. You're not being pulled. You're falling. Right now. Sitting still, wherever you are in free fall through curved space. The Earth isn't pulling you down. The Earth is in your way, pushing up against you as you try to fall through it. The ground beneath your feet is accelerating upward into you at 9.8 meters per second squared, constantly, every moment. The universe is stranger than you think. Space and time aren't separate things. They're woven together into a single fabric. And massive objects like the Earth create curves in that fabric, like a bowling ball sitting on a stretched sheet. And you, me, everything, we're not being pulled toward the Earth. We're following the straightest possible path through curved space-time, which looks like falling to us because we're used to thinking of space as flat. But here's where it gets personal, and this is where I need you to really feel this, not just think it. If the ground beneath your feet is not what you thought it was, if gravity itself is not what you thought it was, what else have you been standing on that isn't real? What other certainties are you clinging to that are just, well, stories, just interpretations, used one way of looking at things that feels solid but isn't? You see, we walk around with these unexamined assumptions about reality. We think space is space and time is time, and they're separate. We think objects are solid. We think we are separate from the world around us. We think the past is fixed and the future is uncertain. and the present is this razor-thin slice between them. And none of it holds up when you look closely. Let me show you what I mean. Let's talk about uncertainty, because this is where everything changes. In quantum mechanics, we discovered something that disturbed me deeply at first. Still does, in some ways. You cannot know both the position and the momentum of a particle at the same time. The more precisely you measure where something is, the less you can know about where it's going. The more precisely you measure how fast it's moving, the less you can know about where it is. This isn't a limitation of our measuring tools. It's not that we just need better microscopes or more sensitive detectors. This is a fundamental property of reality itself. Particles don't have a definite position and momentum at the same time. They exist in a state of potentiality, of maybe, of not yet decided. And only when you observe them, when you interact with them, do they collapse into something specific. Now, most people hear this and they think, okay, that's weird, but that's just about tiny particles. That's not about my life. But I'm telling you, and I need you to hear this, the same principle governs your life. The more you demand certainty about the future, the less present you become. The more you try to control outcomes, the less you can respond to what's actually happening right now. Certainty and aliveness are inversely related. You think anxiety comes from not knowing what's going to happen. That's what everyone thinks. If I just knew how this was going to turn out, if I just had a guarantee, then I could relax. But I discovered it's the opposite. Anxiety comes from demanding to know, from needing reality to behave predictably so you can feel safe, from trying to collapse the wave function of your life before it's ready. But reality is probabilistic. It operates in waves of potential until the moment of interaction. And you, your consciousness, your choices, your attention, you are part of that interaction. You're not a passive observer watching reality happen. You're a participant, collapsing possibilities into actualities with every choice you make, every place you put your attention. Here's the paradox, and I want you to sit with this for a moment. You are both the observer and the observed. You are both shaping reality and being shaped by it. The boundary you think exists between you and the world, that clear line where you end and everything else begins, it's a convenient fiction. It's useful for navigating daily life, sure, but it's not real. Not in the way you think. Let me explain. The Newtonian worldview, the one most of us still carry around unconsciously, it taught us that objects are separate. Billiard balls bouncing off each other, isolated systems interacting mechanically. You're here, the world is there, and you bump into it occasionally, but you're fundamentally separate. But quantum entanglement showed us something that shocked everyone, including me. I didn't like it at first. I fought against it. Two particles can become correlated in such a way that measuring one instantly affects the other, even if they're separated by the entire width of the universe. Not almost instantly. Note after some signal travels between them, instantly. Faster than light, which, according to my own theory of relativity, shouldn't be possible. I called it spooky action at a distance. I thought it meant quantum mechanics was incomplete, that we were missing something. But Natur didn't care what I liked. The experiments kept proving it. Again and again and again. And slowly, over years, I began to understand. The universe is not made of things. It's made of relationships, patterns of connection, fields of influence that extend everywhere, connecting everything. You are not an isolated self navigating a world of separate objects. You are a pattern of relationship, constantly co-creating with everything around you. Every breath you take, you're exchanging atoms with the air. Every photon that hits your retina left the object you're looking at and traveled across space to enter your eye. There's a constant exchange happening, a constant conversation between what you call you and what you call the world. And here's the practical implication that changes everything. Every time you feel lonely, you're believing a Newtonian lie. You're believing in the myth of separation. Every time you think your choices don't matter, that you're too small to make a difference, you're ignoring quantum truth. You are always entangled, always participating, always in relationship with everything. The question is only, are you doing it consciously or unconsciously? Are you aware of your participation, or Are you sleepwalking through it? Now let's talk about time, because this is where it gets really strange, really personal. In special relativity, I proved that time is not absolute. It's relative to the observer. If you travel at high speed, close to the speed of light, time slows down for you relative to someone standing still. This isn't theory. This isn't philosophy. We've measured it with atomic clocks on airplanes. We've confirmed it thousands of times. Time is not a cosmic clock ticking away the same for everyone everywhere. It's flexible. It's relative. It depends on how you're moving through space. But here's the emotional truth underneath the physics, and this is what nobody talks about. The way you experience time is a choice, not in some woo-woo manifestation sense, but in a very real physiological sense. When you're contracted with fear, when your nervous system is in fight or flight, time speeds up. You feel rushed. You feel behind. You feel like there's never enough time, like you're always playing catch-up. Your perception of duration literally compresses. When you're expanded with presence, when you're relaxed and open, and in your body, time slows down. You have space. You have breath. 5 minutes can feel like an hour. You notice details. You experience richness. Your perception of duration expands. Time dilation isn't just something that happens when you're traveling near the speed of light. It's happening in your nervous system right now, based on how you're relating to this moment. Are you here, or are you racing ahead to the next thing? Are you present, or are you contracted around some fear of the future? The practice hidden inside the physics is this. Stop trying to manage time. Stop trying to cram more into your day, to optimize every minute, to squeeze productivity out of every hour. Start managing your attention. Where you place your awareness literally changes the temporal texture of your experience. This isn't metaphor. This is how consciousness works. Let me tell you about the observer effect, because this ties everything together. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation changes what is being observed. Before you measure a particle, it exists in a superposition of states. It's in multiple possibilities simultaneously. It's here and there. It's spinning this way and that way. It's everything it could be, all at once. But the moment you observe it, the moment you measure it, the wave function collapses. It becomes one definite thing, one position, one spin, one outcome. And your life works the same way. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me. The questions you ask determine what you see. The assumptions you carry shape what becomes possible. If you walk into a room believing people are judging you, you will find evidence. You'll notice every glance, every whisper, every facial expression that confirms your belief. If you walk into that same room curious and open, assuming people are friendly, you'll find something entirely different. You'll notice the smiles, the welcomes, the moments of connection. Not because you're delusional, not because you're making things up, but because you are participating in what emerges. Your observation, your attention, your expectation. It's part of the system. You're not separate from what you're observing. You're entangled with it. And your state influences the state of what you're interacting with. Here's the dangerous comfort that most people fall into. They would rather have a predictable, painful reality than risk the discomfort of not knowing. So they keep observing the same patterns. They keep asking the same questions. They keep collapsing into the same limited outcomes, over and over. And then they wonder why nothing changes, why their life feels stuck, why every relationship looks the same, why every job feels like the last one. But you don't have to do that. You can choose different questions. You can choose different observations. You can choose to look for something new. And when you do, when you genuinely shift what you're looking for, reality shifts with you, not magically, not supernaturally, but through the very real, very physical principle that observation affects the observed. So, what do you do with all of this? How do you actually live from this understanding? Because that's what matters, right? Not just knowing it intellectually, but embodying it, living it, letting it change how you move through the world. First practice. I call it the question inventory. For 1 week, I want you to write down every recurring question you ask yourself. And I mean, really pay attention. Notice the questions that loop in your mind all day long. Am I doing enough? What will people think? Why does this always happen to me? Am I falling behind? Did I say the wrong thing? Will this work out? You know the ones. The questions that play on repeat like a broken record. Don't judge them. Don't try to fix them. Just notice. Write them down. Because these questions are observation tools. They are quantum measurements, and they're collapsing your reality into very specific, very limited patterns. If you're constantly asking, what will people think? You're observing for judgment. You're looking for evidence that people are evaluating you. And guess what you'll find? Judgment. Because that's what you're measuring for. Once you see your questions clearly, once you have them written down in front of you, you can choose new ones. What wants to emerge here? What would it feel like to trust this? Where is the aliveness in this moment? What am I not seeing because I'm so focused on this fear? These are different measurements, different observations, and they will collapse your reality into different outcomes. New questions equal new observations equal new reality. Second practice, the entanglement practice. Once a day, I want you to pause and feel your connection to something. Note, think about it, feel it. And I mean really feel it, in your body, through your senses. Feel the exchange of heat between your skin and the air. Notice how the air is slightly warmer where it touches you, how your body is slightly cooler where the air flows over it. There's a constant exchange happening. Feel the gravitational pull between you and the earth. You're not just sitting on the earth. You're in mutual gravitational relationship with it. It pulls you pull it. Feel the light bouncing between you and the object you're looking at. Photons are leaving that wall or that tree or that person, traveling through space, entering your eye, striking your retina. There is a physical connection, a constant conversation of light. You are not separate. You never were. But you have to interrupt the story of separation with direct sensation, with felt experience. 30 seconds. That's all. Just 300 seconds of feeling the actual physical connection that's always happening. And watch how it changes your sense of isolation, your sense of being alone in the world. Third practice, the uncertainty ritual. Before bed, write down one thing you don't know, not as a problem. Note as something to fix, just as a fact. I don't know if this project will work. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know what's coming next month. I don't know if I made the right choice. Just name it. Be honest about it. 10 say out loud, and I really mean say it out loud, not just think it. And that's okay. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. Uncertainty is the texture of aliveness. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't trying to convince yourself everything will be fine. This is training your nervous system to stop equating uncertainty with danger. Because here's the truth. Certainty is death. Certainty is the grave. Certainty is the end of possibility. Uncertainty, note knowing, that's where life happens. That's where creativity emerges. That's where something new can enter. Now, I want to talk about something more personal for a moment. The year my first marriage fell apart, I spent 6 months barely able to work. My colleagues thought I was having a breakdown. Maybe I was. I don't know. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, we had grown into strangers. The distance between us felt infinite, even though we lived in the same house. And when it finally ended, when we finally admitted it was over, I felt like a failure. Not just in my personal life, but fundamentally as a human being. I had spent years trying to understand the universe, trying to decode the deep patterns of reality, and I couldn't even maintain a relationship. I couldn't even keep my own life together. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, being celebrated for understanding space and time, and I couldn't understand the woman sleeping next to me. But in that emptiness, in that terrible space where all my certainties collapsed, something extraordinary happened. Without the noise of being right, without the armor of being the great physicist, without the need to have it all figured out, I started feeling reality differently. Not thinking about it, feeling it. And in one moment, sitting alone in my apartment in Berlin, watching the light come through the window, I understood something I'd missed in all my equations. The universe doesn't care about your timeline. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan or your career goals or your relationship milestones. But it's also not indifferent. It's not cold or mechanical or hostile. It's participating with you. It's responding to you in ways you've been too busy, too armored, too defended to notice. There's an intelligence moving through everything, and it's not separate from you. It is you. You're not outside of it looking in. You're inside of it, part of it, made of it. That experience, that moment of actually feeling my participation in reality, rather than just thinking about it, it changed everything for me. Not my physics. My physics was already there. But my life. How I related to people. How I related to uncertainty. How I related to my own mistakes and failures. Because here's what I realized. Every mistake, every failure, every moment where things don't go according to plan, it's not evidence that you're broken. It's evidence that you're alive. It's evidence that reality is bigger than your plans, more creative than your expectations, more intelligent than your need to control. And if you can soften to that, if you can let that in, then failure becomes feedback. Pain becomes information. Uncertainty becomes invitation. I spent so much of my life trying to be smart, trying to be right, trying to have the answers. And it made me rigid. It made me defensive. It made me unable to truly listen or truly change. But when I finally let myself not know, when I let myself be wrong, when I let myself sit in the discomfort of uncertainty, everything opened up. My relationships got better. My work got deeper. My life got richer. And I see you doing the same thing I did. I see you trying so hard to have it figured out, to be certain, to know the right answer, to not look foolish, to not be vulnerable. And it's strangling you. It's keeping you small. It's keeping you safe, maybe, but it's also keeping you from the very thing you're longing for. Aliveness, connection, growth, transformation. Let me tell you something about reality that took me decades to understand. Reality is not a problem to be solved. It's a dance to participate in. It's not a puzzle where you find all the right pieces and then everything makes sense and you can relax. It's a living process that's constantly unfolding, constantly creating new possibilities, constantly inviting you into deeper and deeper relationship. And the way you participate isn't by knowing more. It's by being willing to not know, by being willing to question, by being willing to let go of what you thought was true when new evidence appears, by being willing to be changed by what you encounter. That's real intelligence. Note the ability to accumulate facts or remember formulas or recite information. Real intelligence is responsiveness, adaptability, openness, the ability to hold multiple possibilities at once without collapsing into premature certainty, the ability to stay with a question long enough for it to transform you rather than just demanding a quick answer so you can move on. You know what I love about children? And I mean really young children, before they've been trained out of it. They ask the most profound questions. Why is the sky blue? Where does the light go when you turn off the lamp? What would happen if we could walk on the ceiling? And adults laugh or dismiss these questions as cute or naive. But these are the questions that crack reality open. These are the questions that don't accept the standard answers because they haven't learned yet that there are questions you're not supposed to ask. And somewhere along the way, you learned to stop asking those questions. You learned that not knowing makes you look stupid, that questions make you seem uncertain, that you should just accept what the experts say and move on. And something died in you when you learned that. Some spark of curiosity, some willingness to wonder, some courage to question the unquestionable. I'm inviting you to reclaim that. I'm inviting you to become childlike again in the best possible way. No childish, but childlike. Curious, open, willing to wonder, willing to ask the stupid question, willing to imagine the impossible. Because that's where breakthrough lives. Not in knowing more, but in being willing to question what you know. Now, let me bring this back to something very practical, very immediate. Right now, in your life, there's something you're certain about. Some belief you're holding about yourself, or about how the world works, or about what's possible for you. And that certainty, that belief, it feels like truth. It feels like reality. It feels like just the way things are. But I'm telling you, it's not. It's an observation. It's a measurement. It's one way of collapsing the wave function of your life. And there are other possibilities, other outcomes, other versions of reality that are just as real, just as available, just waiting for you to observe them into existence. Maybe it's the belief that you're not creative, or that you're bad with money, or that relationships always end badly for you, or that you're too old to start something new, or that you're not smart enough, or that you're too broken to heal. Whatever it is, it feels solid. It feels true. It feels like you have mountains of evidence to support it. But here's what I know from quantum mechanics. The evidence you see is the evidence you look for. The reality you experience is the reality you observe. And if you've been observing for your limitations, for your failures, for your inadequacies, that's what you'll keep finding. Not because it's the only truth, but because it's the only thing you're measuring for. What if you chose a different observation? What if you looked for evidence of your capacity instead of your limitation? What if you looked for moments of connection instead of moments of rejection? What if you looked for possibilities instead of obstacles? The wave function hasn't collapsed yet. Your future isn't determined. Reality is still in superposition, waiting for your observation to give it form. I want to talk about one more thing before we close, and it's maybe the most important thing. There's a question I get asked a lot, or at least I did when I was alive. People would ask me, "Do you believe in God?" And they wanted a simple answer: yes or no. Believer or atheist. But the question itself is too simple for the reality I experienced. Here's what I can tell you. I don't believe in a God who interferes, who punishes and rewards, who has opinions about who you sleep with, or what you eat, or how you worship. That God, the God of human projection, of judgment, of religious control, I have no use for that. But I do experience something I can only call sacred, something that moves through the equations, through the symmetries, through the deep patterns of reality. An intelligence, a harmony, a coherence touch so beautiful it brings me to tears. When I look at the universe, when I see how the same laws govern the smallest particle and the largest galaxy, when I see how everything is connected, how nothing is separate, how it all works together in this intricate dance, I experience reverence. I experience awe. I experience humility. And if you want to call that God, okay. But it's not God up there and you down here. It's not God as separate from you, watching you, judging you. It's God as the intelligence moving through you, as you in you. You are not separate from the sacred. You are an expression of it. You are made of the same stuff as the stars. The same atoms that formed in the belly of ancient supernovas are in your body right now. The same forces that govern galaxies are governing the cells in your body. You are not outside of the universe looking in. You are the universe looking at itself. You are the way the cosmos becomes conscious. And when you understand that, when you really feel that, everything changes. You stop trying to control reality and start dancing with it. You stop trying to force outcomes and start listening for what wants to emerge. You stop seeing yourself as separate and start experiencing yourself as part of the whole. That's what I want for you, not to know more physics, though physics is beautiful and I hope you study it, but to experience the truth that physics points to, the truth of your participation, the truth of your connection, the truth that uncertainty isn't your enemy, it's your invitation, the truth that you are not broken, you are not falling behind, you are exactly where you need to be. So let me bring this home. When you started this video, you might have thought you were separate from the world, an isolated self trying to control an unpredictable reality, trying to gather enough knowledge, enough certainty, enough security to finally feel safe. But what we've explored together is the truth I found in the equations, in the quantum form, in the curvature of space-time itself. You are not separate. You are not powerless. Uncertainty is not your enemy. You are a pattern of relationships participating in the constant unfolding of reality. Where you place your attention matters. It literally shapes what becomes visible, what becomes possible. The questions you ask determine the answers you find. And the need for certainty, that grasping for control, it's the only thing standing between you and aliveness, between you and the profound peace that comes from trusting the intelligence of reality itself. So let me leave you with this. You are not broken for not having all the answers. You're not falling behind because you don't know what's next. You are exactly where quantum reality has always been. In Superposition, in Potential, in the holy space of not yet decided. And that's not a problem to solve. That's not something wrong with you. That's the invitation. That's the doorway. That's where life is actually happening. You don't need more certainty. You need more courage to live with uncertainty. You don't need more knowledge. You need more willingness to unlearn what's keeping you stuck. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to let yourself be changed by what you don't know yet. Because imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge tells you what is. But imagination shows you what could be. And what could be is always bigger, always more beautiful, always more possible than what is. If this perspective landed for you, if something shifted in how you see yourself or reality, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me what question this opened up for you. What certainty you're willing to let go of. What possibility you're willing to observe into existence. And if you want more explorations like this, where we take the deepest truths of physics and translate them into how you actually live, subscribe. Not because I need you to, but because you might need reminders. Reminders that the universe is not as solid as it seems, not as separate as you've been taught, not as hostile as you fear. It's alive. It's intelligent. It's participating with you. And you are not outside of it. You are it. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself. And that is the most extraordinary truth I ever discovered. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying curious. Thank you for being willing to question. And remember, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. So, stay with the mystery. Stay with the questions. Stay with the not knowing. That's where the real magic lives.